Thank you, Comrade Speaker. Kindly allow me as I make my maiden presentation at this forum, to first of all congratulate you on your assumption to high office, considered high office, and allow me also to sympathize that you're unable to be here physically with us because you have become a casualty of a global pandemic that is going to change the way we live for a very long, long time to come. You know, sir, the experts say that the virus does not travel, people does. And you, like all of us, should exercise care and caution with who you mix in with. Not every Lampi and Pampillo should be going close to so that you can avoid having to become a victim. Mr. Speaker, the budget that we are currently discussing is, of course, a product of intense work by the major players over the last few weeks. The team was headed by no less than His Excellency, Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali, with able support from the Vice President, Bharat Jagdeo, and the hardworking team at the Ministry of Finance. So I think we, all of us here, and the Guyanese people, owe these people words of congratulation for the effort that they would have made to complete this budget after we would have gone through 5 months of turmoil since the conclusion of the voting on March the 2nd, and which led to the conclusion of the elections made on August the 2nd. Mr. Speaker, throughout this period, we have witnessed brazen efforts by individuals to promote the biggest heist of a people's will to elect a government of their choice. I recall former Jamaican Prime Minister Bruce Golding, who led the OAS mission to Guyana, saying, and I quote, "I have never seen a more transparent effort to alter the results of an election." He went on to say, sir, that, it takes an extraordinary courageous mind to present fictitious numbers when such a sturdy paper trail exists. And sir, no country deserves to go through the pains that Guyana went through after the voting of March the 2nd. And sir, we have many brave people. Some of them are present here along the lines of what Mr. Bruce Golding spoke about. And some of them choose not to be here, but to make presentation virtually. They're probably not as brave as others who played a big role in not recognizing the will of our people. And when the Honorable Member C. Paul said that this budget delivers Christmas in September, if all of us had respected the will of the people, we would have had Christmas in April after the discussion. So, Mr. Speaker, we heard words about weapons against various sections. And I would say clearly, sir, that no weapon formed against the will of the people of Guyana will prosper. And the will of the people, even after 5 torturous months, have delivered to the people of Guyana a government of their choice. And nothing can take that away. from our people. So, sir, we are now discussing a budget that seems to be causing a lot of confusion in the opposition camp. Some are saying it's a former President David Granger budget. Some in their presentation are saying it's a copy of their budget and then go on to lambaste the budget. And others are saying that it's a no good budget. And we need to examine the budget thoroughly to see what is it that it brings to our people and whether any section of our population is left out of consideration in the measures that are stated. We also have to take this budget contextually, Mr. Speaker. That is in the context that it was prepared, in the context that it was delivered, in the context that we are deliberating on the numbers. And one fundamental issue that must be made clear is that we are into September, and whatever is in this budget, expenditure-wise, a huge amount of it would have already been committed by the previous APNU AFC government. And this is the context in which the global pandemic also plays a major role in determining how we move forward. Only just now the speaker before me spoke about an analysis done by Mr. McCrae and questioning whose budget it is. Sir, it might be argued and it could be argued that this budget is friendly towards the private sector. But the private sector is recognized worldwide also as the engine of growth. And in a situation where you're faced with a pandemic, none of the sectors, not especially the productive sectors, can perform without being given that enabling environment to do so, without enjoying the comfort of government policy in order to move forward with investment that will see job creation. So the pandemic, of course, constrained our country tremendously. When we look at the numbers now, they appear to have been an inflation, and the politicians over on the other side will lay claim that it happened because of this administration ability to handle it. So I have a different view, and that is to say that because the previous government did not adequately address the issue, did not put adequate measures in place, we are now discovering the extent of the infection across the different regions because of increased testings and all of that. And I note that the Honorable Minister of Health said only yesterday, or it could have been last night, that the testing time will be reduced between testing to the time of getting your results will be reduced to about 45 minutes. That, sir, in by itself is commendable. There is no known cure worldwide presently. And that is why, as a country, we have to take precautions. We have to observe the protocols. We have to avoid large gathering where social distancing cannot be accommodated. And we have to ensure that we widen our scope to test throughout the length and breadth of Guyana. And that is why some of the measures that are put in this budget are intended in the short term, taking those constraints into consideration to ensure our economy is provided with a platform that it could kick off from so as to deliver on that which is promised. And that, of course, sir, is prosperity or plan for prosperity. So worldwide, the economy grew by 2.9% in 2019, which was a reduction of 0.7% from 2018. But it is contracted It is projected to contract by 4.9% in 2020. And this year, sir, for the first time, the IMF is projecting a negative growth for all groups of countries, a negative growth for all group of countries. This gives you the global picture within which Guyana, as a small economy, has to operate. And that is why, after serious consideration, the kind of measures that are entailed in this budget is intended to instill confidence in all our sectors so that we can do well to bring good for our people. Guyana itself, sir, without the oil economy, would have experienced just about less than 5% negative growth without the oil economy. Our economy itself would have contracted by that. Without oil, the rest of the economy is projected for this contraction of 4.9%, which brings us now to oil and the role that it will play in the overall development of our country. We have been warned time and time again, sir, about falling prey to the Dutch disease. And right away, you can see that without oil, the economy would have been contracted or would have contracted by 4.9%. So avoid, how do we avoid this Dutch disease when we are experiencing and project to experience negative growth in sugar, in poultry, in milk, in CBOP, in forestry, and of course, sir, the budget shows all the numbers that, that these sectors have declined by. We, sir, can avoid contracting the Dutch disease by making investment in the areas that are renewable, not those finite areas. And that is why we have to invest in infrastructure, we have to invest in agriculture, in tourism, in the extractive industries, and that is why we also have to invest in people, because the danger of collapsing is very real. And I would want to use the example of Kuwait, for example, as a country that depends a lot on oil, a very rich country, well, hitherto very rich, but currently that country is faced with financial difficulties and will be unable to pay salaries for November. And may we be reminded, sir, that Kuwait produces just about 2.9 million barrels of oil per day. Now, if a country with that level of production can face financial difficulties to the extent where they are unable to pay basic salaries, then a country like Guyana will have to exercise budgeting, result-based budgeting, to avoid being placed in similar situations and to ensure that we achieve the growth that we are projecting to achieve way above the 40% mark. And sir, the measures here includes, of course, investment in our people. There's investment in industrial parks, our hinterland electrification program, 25,000 solar panel systems, an energy mix comprising of hydro, solar, and wind that will add just about 400 megawatts of power. We have budgeted just about 34.5 billion for the transportation sector. We're going to build new roads. We are going to enhance old roads to make them better. And of course, to give incentive, we spoke a lot about the taxes. This budget says clearly, sir, that the new fees, the new taxes will revert back to the 2014 level. The farmers, especially in Region 5, will be happy to know that from a demand made by the APNU AFC of $15,000 per acre, they will now be required to pay $3,500 per acre, which is the 2014 level. Land rent will be reduced from 7,000 to 1,000. Drainage and irrigation charges will be reduced from $8,000 to $2,500. The dray cart operator, the fishmonger pushing his cart along, will not be required to pay these draconian fees. So these are the kind of investment that a government that knows that what it is about, these are the sectors that they will make investment in so as to stimulate our economy. And sir, you know, when, when we talk about the budget and in our presentation, we must also be careful to present the facts because it's easy for anyone to check it and present it in a way that is analytical and that can give you the true picture. One of the honorable members, Mr. Speaker, I think is the honorable member Dineshwa, boastfully said that under the APNU, the rice industry achieved its highest target. So I will not quarrel with that, but I will go on to say that that
Before
target
you
was
go
achieved.
on, honorable member, let me give you the true picture. You need an extension to conclude.
Mr. Speaker, could I have my honorable colleague be given 5 minutes more to conclude?
Thank you, honorable minister. Honorable member, you have 5 minutes to conclude.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, sir, this target was achieved in 2015. What the honorable member did not say, sir, that by 2019, there was a reduction in rice production by 0.8%. Now, this is not much, but it tells you about trend. And trends are important in doing analysis. Likewise, sir, I could tell you that in 2009, rice production was 359,000 tons. But by 2014, it was 635,000 tons. Here again, over a similar period of time, we would have doubled production under the People's Progressive Party Civic Administration. Whereas the former government of the PNC, PNU, AFC, they came on a platform that was solidly built. They achieved the highest target in a couple of months because of what we had done. But after 5 years, that which they met, they were able, only as they are able to do, to reduce a good thing, to reduce a good thing. So some of these are some of the things that we have to deal with. My honorable colleague, Minister Susan Rodriguez, spoke about GWI. So, you know, delivery of water is essential. How do you justify an over 100% increase in staff when your output barely reached about 9%? 100% in staff from 600 and something to 1,300, and you barely increase your output. This shows clearly, sir, that the previous administration budgeting strategies were aimed at expenditures that are of a non-revenue nature. And a country cannot develop by making and spending in areas where you cannot hope to generate revenues. We are told about fantastic salaries for persons who are not even turning up for work. And this was replicated throughout the different agencies of government. And that, of course, was quite unhealthy for the economy. And that is why, sir, after 5 short years, the PNC, AP, and UAFC, they're back where they belong, in the opposition. I remember clearly, sir, in the election campaign leading up to 2015, the honorable member Cathy Hughes going out to different areas and speaking to Guyanese and said, give us a chance, give us a term. If we don't do good, vote us out. Well, sir, the people listened. First of all, they gave them a chance, allowed them to perform, and they performed so poorly that they were voted out. But the story did not stop there, sir. because the honorable members did not keep their promise, because they said they will leave if they were voted out. And then after March the 2nd, and it took us quite a long time to achieve that effort. Well, a lot of effort to achieve that objective. And so all kinds of things will be happening now. The Honorable Member Cathy Hughes spoke about racial hostility and coming back to that. And I will address that matter, sir. But before that, I want to say clearly that there were a lot of high profile employees of the state who were involved in doing only political work. And that contributed to the demise of the PNC, APNU, AFC. Not only they were not productive, they were also given cover by the big ones in government. We had an high official of the community policing CPG group, a coordinator, I think. Every day outside here during the recon process on television, paid for under the program when they were supposed to be delivering services to the people, they were out there trying to hoodwink the Guyanese people into believing that they have won the elections when they cannot even produce their statement of polls. I know Honorable Member Kemra Dramjatan was asked directly in a television interview recently that why do you believe you've won the elections and where is your statement of polls? And the honorable member did admit, truthfully, that he was only in possession of a few statement of polls. And I would like to say, sir, that if the honorable member was in receipt of a few statement of polls and the rest was in the possession of the PNC, then those statement of polls would have come from areas that the AFC would have hitherto been strong, consider their strong areas. And the results actually show that they're not strong there anymore. And by logical deduction, the honorable member could have come up with an accurate prediction about the results of those of the elections recently held. But, sir, as they say, the rest is history. Sir, in relation to a comment made by the honorable member of that news, I had a look at the Stabrook News, today's Stabrook News, and I want to quote from an article by one Freddie Kissoon, and where he states, sir, that why, and I quote, while Granger Harmon and other opportunists, with the exception of Lawrence, were inciting black people to damage Guyana, one man stood extremely tall, the father of one of the Henry boys, and by extension, the uncle of the other. He was never comfortable with the racist demagoguery that Granger Harmon had used that led to death and destruction. He did not endorse the explanation of the murders being a hate crime. Like Lawrence, he disassociated himself from the robberies and beating of innocent Indian people in Region 5. Maybe in his own little way, he knew Granger Harmon had come to Region 5 not to mourn the Henry boys, not to empathize with their families and relatives, but to use their deaths to destroy Guyana because they lost the 2020 election. Sir, the honorable member spoke about racial hostility. We as leaders, are in these hollow chambers must be responsible for our action because people will look up to us. And if we are to charter a course of unity, if we are to charter a course to achieve those noble goals of one nation, as one people, with one destiny, we all must engage at a different level. And we must take politics out of the equation when we go to give our feelings of support and sympathies and condolences in a highly charged environment that can lead to destruction and, in extreme cases, death of our people. Sir, those people are looking to us for leadership, and we must take it on as a serious responsibility for us to give the kind of leadership that this country needs so desperately at this point in time in working together to deliver what is say here, prosperity for all Guyanese, prosperity for all our brothers and sisters. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity to make this presentation in these chambers. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues all, I want to wish all of you a pleasant evening. All without exception. Thank you very much.